You know, in the brief conversation that we've had, you're married, right?
Yes.
Okay. How long have you been married?
We got married during COVID.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, but how long were you all together before?
Since 2014.
2014.
So 7 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well,
Check
7 years
it
including COVID. Like, what I mean by that is 2020. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what I wanted to talk to you about today is the fact that La Toxica, the concept of La Toxica and how it has hit mainstream, at least here in the Rio Grande Valley, and how this archetype is now being glorified.
Right. For Mexican women, right?
Yes.
And for men too. El tóxico or whatever the hell.
Yes.
I don't get it. I mean, cause okay, so I'm a part of a little. I'm pretty sure everybody is, right. They have a little WhatsApp chat.
Yes.
Right. And so for me, since I'm a nurse, it's a bunch of nurses, right?
Oh wow.
And it was last year or even a little bit before COVID hit, which was around March. I started seeing Toxica and Toxica. I was like,
people have like stickers on their cars.
What does that mean, right? And then so as time went by, I kind of got the gist of what that means. It's basically let's just say like a bad bitch, right? That's what they're trying to.
That's what they're trying to.
That's
push.
what they're trying to
Yeah.
push. But I was talking to my wife about this, right? And because do you have TikTok?
Yes.
So on TikTok, right? They have the TikToks where they go to the side, right? Like you choose healthy or toxic.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you see these kids essentially. Which this might be a part of the problem too with other stuff. But for example, in that little TikTok, you see these kids or these girls or boys, but mostly girls. They go to the side of Toxico or something like that.
Why though?
But you've seen that, right?
Yeah.
And it seems fun, right? It seems fun and innocent or whatnot, but it can all snowball into this actual problem that can actually start affecting people's lives, and I'll tell you why I think that can actually happen in a lot of different ways. But like you said, with that, right? They start glorifying these qualities in people of being toxic or being or just having negative energy.
Yeah.
Right. And so for me, it's like, okay, I'm 32. Okay, I've been through some toxic relationships.
Yeah.
Okay, I know what really toxic is, and it's not something to be glorified. No. You know what I mean? It's kind of sad to be in a situation like that, right? So girls, let's just say, right? Because for you, that they said that they want to talk toxico, or even other women that refer to themselves as being toxicas, which means that they have this attitude kind of or way about them that is toxic to the other person, kind of like putting themselves first, and then the other person kind of like almost in a way like belittling them.
I think this kind of like feeds like simp culture.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Right. Oh, yeah, exactly. With that phenomena too, right?
Yeah.
Because now, every, I'm not gonna say every other girl, but like, literally now, like girls or guys, right, having OnlyFans is like
It's
this.
A norm.
It's a normal thing.
I cannot tell
you, know what I mean?
Or I can tell you actually, and the last person that mentioned an OnlyFans to me, I was surprised and I was a little disappointed because I've had 4 people come up to me and be like, "You should start an OnlyFans," and I was like,
guys or girls?
Guys, and I'm just kind of.
They told you that in person, or they through text or whatever.
In text, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, one of them was like, "Hey, like, if you ever start an OnlyFans, let me know." The other one was like, "Hey, we should do an OnlyFans together." Right. And the third one was somebody that I was dating, and they were like, "Let me find out you have an OnlyFans." And then the fourth person was like, you should start an OnlyFans. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. Absolutely not. You know, but the thing is that our culture has gotten here. And now it is the responsibility of us that are aware to try and do something about it. And that is the premise behind this episode, you know, sitting down to record this, because there's a difference between being a bad bitch and there's a difference between being a bad toxic bitch. Because like when you approach conflict, right, like let's say something as a woman, something's coming forward that requires for you to be stern and direct but also respectful is very different from me being stern and direct and being disrespectful.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? So you can't say that, I mean, people get it confused a lot of the time, right? Because the one that looks petty is the one that's more appealing because it's easier. It's harder to stand your ground and say, this is the way it's going to be, and also be respectful at the same time.
Right.
And people are going to think that's not the bad bitch. But in my opinion, the bad bitch is the one that does it with respect, with tact, and with care.
And in a way, I think this glorifying of toxic relationships or toxic men or toxic women is so I have a lot of friends on Facebook still, right? I'm still, I don't put anything on Facebook, but I still check it from time to time. And really, you know, it's all memes and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And like I said, you know, I'll just preface it with this again. It's like, I get it. You know, the toxic thing can be a fun kind of meme, funny thing in a way, right? I get it. You know, you're just trying to keep it lighthearted or whatever. But what I see is, like you said, glorifying these toxic people. These toxic women or toxic men are not. They're not good people. They're lazy people.
Correct.
Right. So, as an example, I'm not gonna name any names or whatever, but somebody that you know, that I saw got in a relationship with like the stereotypical like toxic girl.
Okay.
Right. That they do everything for them. Like the guy brings her everything, and she basically all she has to do is just sit there and look pretty.
Why?
You know, and get the injections and get the breasts.
Everything augmented.
And everything.
Yes.
And then basically they're just kind of a warm body taking up space and looking good.
I don't understand that though. Like the reason I don't understand that is because that is only for the moment. It is a temporary thing. The physical is a temporary thing unless you have the budget to continuously feed that. At the end of the day, you're still going to need somebody to support you and to be in your corner, so to speak, when you need them. Exactly.
And so to me with that, you know, we're in these times, you know, when with cancel culture, right? Like cancel culture, you know, the election, COVID, all these things were kind of just like mashed up together in this I guess cluster of just craziness that happened in 2020, and a lot of it centered around women's equality, right? Women's equality, the women, you know, they no longer want to rely on men for this and that, you know. But then you see stuff like the toxic stuff, and some women are kind of embracing it. I'm not saying all women, but some women are embracing it.
They're about it.
You know, they're about it. And you can just, like I said, you can just look on TikTok, you know, and you know what I'm talking about. And so with my daughter, right, the education right now is going through this revolution.
It is.
Elementary, people in high school, kids in junior high and high school and all these things. It's going to change forever, right? And my wife gets mad, you know, because they still haven't started school yet, essentially. In the Valley. If you leave the Valley, school already started, right? But for some reason, teachers in the Valley,
they can't get it together.
They don't, I mean, and I hate to knock them in a way, but they don't want to go back to school, right? Like they don't want to go back into the classroom, citing that it's not safe. Okay. And so that's fine.
That's reasonable.
That's fine. Okay. Cool. So it's been almost a year already.
Yeah.
By the end of March 15th. I know the exact day because that day we were in Las Vegas, my wife and I. And that's when that's when they shut down everything.
Really?
Yes, I remember the exact day. It was March 15th because we were in Las Vegas and it was like a ghost town. Like,
there was nobody there.
Yeah, I remember I woke up that morning and we had tickets to all these shows and stuff. And that day it got canceled and literally Las Vegas was like deserted.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so we came back to the valley, school was canceled, whatever. And so it's almost to that date again, right? We're almost past middle of January. So in another month, McAllen ISD, because I live in McAllen, announced that they're extending the online education for another 2 weeks. And they've been saying that since school started back in August, that 2 weeks. And then it gets to the 2 weeks, another 2 weeks.
We're like in the middle of January.
And now it's January, it's 4 months later or 5 months later. Mm-hmm. And so my wife kind of gets upset, right? No, how can they, whatever. Because me and her work, right?
Yeah.
Like, so ever since then, we've kind of had to offset our schedules to accommodate our daughter and stuff. So I had to stay home if she works, and if she works, I have to stay home. And that's what I'm telling you with the podcast. It kind of, with COVID, everything kind of just went by the wayside a little bit, temporarily. So then, what was I saying? So now, these teachers, right? Like they don't want to go back to teaching. It's not that they don't want to go back, but it's just their circumstances are legit, to them, to everybody. Each circumstance to them, whatever is important to them, you can't downplay that. So, anyway, so what I am saying is, she gets upset, right? She's like, "Oh, they're never gonna go back to school." I was like, "They're never gonna go back to school, okay? We're perpetually gonna be online, all right?" So now, what do we do with our little girl? She's 11. No, I'm sorry, she's 12. She's coming of age, during these times, and essentially these online classes are a joke. I don't know if you have any nephews or children, it's a joke. Literally,
I agree.
They're not doing anything. These kids are essentially, they're just kind of passively just listening to it. And what I don't get, which is a kind of little minute detail, is these teachers, right, that teach in class or whatever. And then my little girl, she's in the classroom, right, supposedly. And then all the kids have their cameras off.
Yeah.
And I was like, Natalie, why is nobody in the class or what? How come nobody has their cameras on? And she's like, well, you don't have to have your camera on.
Then what, how do they even know?
So how do they even know you're there? I mean, so I think they do little activities, you know what I mean?
To make sure you're engaged.
To make sure that you're there.
Yeah.
But it's not like a camera on you.
Yeah.
Where that for certain that kids are paying attention. Okay, so I'm like, So I don't know if they told these teachers, you can't force these kids to use their cameras or whatever. But I'm telling you, as a parent, I'll let you tell my kid to use their camera, okay? Yeah. Because, so like I said, you see their little classroom, all the kids have their cameras off. So she was telling me that one of her friends, a boy, while he's in class, he's playing the video games. You know what I mean? And then before COVID, she had friends, right? They were straight A students, and now they're all failing. Like literally, they're all failing. So this education system now is, like I said, it's gonna get rebooted. Teachers, they don't know that they're unwillingly subscribing to a new model of education. They don't know that. They think that they're gonna come back and everything's gonna be the same. It's not, because now people are going to realize that we can just teach our children what we want to teach them. You know what I mean? So I told the principal and me and my wife, because our little girl was going through, some stuff like everybody did, right? Yeah. With depression and stuff like that.
It's a whole new dynamic because they don't have the social interaction they used to.
Right, exactly. And so we told them, like, we don't care if she fails. We don't. You know what I mean? Because you guys aren't doing anything.
Yeah.
All right? You guys are just kind of, these teachers are just assigning stuff. Oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And if they don't get it, pues they don't get it. You know what I mean? And on to the next. And even they said, they were like, we're not gonna do this year. We're not gonna grade this year so harshly. I think they even went as far as saying that they're just gonna do pass fail.
Really?
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm getting with all of that is, so we have a little girl now growing up in the Valley in 2021, 2020. And her education, her brain, is gonna be filled with
media,
with stuff that doesn't matter. Which it wasn't like that. I mean, it was already like that before with the common education system that we went through. I don't know, where'd you go to high school or school?
I went to 4 different high schools. So.
Okay, so I went to school here in the Valley in Hidalgo, and I'm telling you, I would say 80% of my teachers were no good.
Yeah.
Okay, I could name you one teacher that I thought was a really good influence in my life, and all the other ones, actually 2, and all the other ones were just collecting a paycheck.
Pretty much, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so now, what I told my wife was that, okay, so now the education is how it's supposed to be. Before the 1900s, education wasn't a big part of people's lives, right? Like schools started because factories in the Industrial Revolution started coming about. So these factories needed these essentially teenagers or kids to start getting used to having like a schedule kind of deal.
So what you're saying is that basically that society has engineered these children
to be followers
and then to just work factory kind of jobs.
Right, exactly. Yeah, because when you graduate from high school, what do all your teachers always say? They don't say just start your own business or
they go to school and get a job.
Get a job, right?
Yeah.
Why? Like, why should I get a job for somebody else?
And now those of us that have always felt like we just want more for ourselves
right.
are left to, we're entrepreneurs now, or we're figuring everything out because of the internet.
Right, exactly.
Trial and error.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's perfect timing, because in the internet right now, you can learn anything, like literally anything. And so with our daughter now, you know, with the education system essentially being done, like we're not even getting mad at her. Before COVID, right? We were getting upset at her for, oh, why didn't you do your homework? Whatever. Now we're just like, whatever. It's like these people aren't teaching you anything. You know, she's learning more on her own.
Yeah.
She's starting to read these. She reads these anime things, right? But kids literally have this little app where they write their own fan fiction, like they write their own little side stories.
Yeah.
And literally, that's all she does.
Creative writing.
So she's exactly creative writing. And she's reading all of this, and she's just all day, she's just reading. So, you know, so unwillingly, she's making this habit of reading. When I was a kid, I never read anything because, you know, these, all I was taught in school was turn in your work and we'll pass you.
That's
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so to me, it was just kind of like a checklist. What do I need to do? Okay, this, blah, 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 blah. And then like anything else, I wasn't learning. I was just playing video games, you know, and then there was no internet. So stuff I wanted to learn about, you know, about X thing or whatever.
We would have to like go to the school library, the Dewey Decimal System, and try to find the card with the number.
If you were lucky, if you were lucky, right? For example, when I was in high school or junior high, I was real interested in I was a real big fan of like martial arts.
Okay.
Right, so I wanted to learn, and then parkour was coming around at that time, right? So I kind of wanted to learn that stuff, but I lived in Hidalgo, you know what I mean? Like it was a poor city. There was
find the people that want to do
no resources. But even if I wanted to learn on my own, you know, there's no internet, there's no YouTube.
Yeah.
You know, YouTube was barely coming about at that time, and that's what I was interested in, like naturally, right? You know who Tony Robbins is, right?
Yeah.
So Tony Robbins says, right, quit pushing yourself to do stuff. Do stuff that pulls you.
Absolutely.
Right? So instead of me doing stuff that pulled me, every time I found something that was pulling me, you know, I would meet a dead end, you know? But now these kids have everything at their disposal. Like I said, my daughter has that, you know, essentially. She wants to learn about, you know, so she also plays the bass, right? And we got her into those base classes because we told her, Natalie, you're not going to sit around, in the house, not doing anything. By the time you're 18, when I was 18, I didn't have any skills, okay?
Yeah.
I played football, right? Because football got you girls, and I came out of school with no skills whatsoever. No money skills, no nada. Like, I knew how to play football, and I knew how to check off lists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I graduated with good grades and in the top 10 and all that crap, but I didn't know how to do anything.
So would it be fair then to say that what's going on with our education system now is just going to further feed the mentality of toxic behaviors and traits because they're more entertaining, are going to be more accepted?
Well, okay, so long story short, let me just cut to the point that I'm trying to make. What I'm trying to say is we're trying to make our little girl have values and have skills.
That's good.
Right? Because by the time she turns 18, I told her, I'm not turning you 18 essentially and turning you over to society with no skills. Okay? Because that's how you end up with these toxic people. Because they have no skills, therefore, what's easy for women to do, right? And men also, because
take care of them.
Not only that, right? Which is very true, but not only that, but on social media, show their butt, show their ass, or show their boobs, or sell their nudes and OnlyFans.
Yeah.
And that's gonna get them attention. You know what I mean? Especially if they came from a broken home, right?
Absolutely.
With no father figure or whatnot. That's gonna get them attention that they think that they like. And it's gonna drive them towards these toxic relationships, which are glorified in society now or on these social media apps. And then they're gonna find out, oh shit, wait, no. This is not actually a good thing. This actually sucks. Yeah. And for women, it's very dangerous, right? To have a toxico or whatever, right? Because, edgy guys, let's just say, right, can have edge in a way.
They're very volatile.
But if you have an actual toxic guy, that's not a stable guy. Like I work as a registered nurse, so I've seen instability at its worst, like with psychological issues and everything, right? And so women who now, oh well, I want a toxico, or guys who say I want a toxica, I'll say, oh no, you don't.
No, you don't.
Right?
But then again, hay gente que le gusta la mala vida. Some people just like a bad life, and they like those repetitive cycles of high intensity negative moments followed by we're gonna try it and like make it right by being nice to each other, and now everything's lovey-dovey and great again, and then we're gonna have a disagreement, we're gonna fight, and it's just like a perpetual cycle of toxicity over and over and over again.
Exactly. And so and I when me and my wife just talk about stuff, right, I told her, look, I used to have a girlfriend, an ex-girlfriend back in the day, that literally, she was a prototypical. She didn't think she was, right? Because what was the first thing to coming to for like example, when you have a problem with alcohol, what's the first step, right?
Stop drinking alcohol.
No, it's admitting you have a problem, right? Yeah. These people, these toxic people, they say, well, I'm not toxic, right? I don't have a problem. It's not me, right? Yeah. This girl was that. Like she didn't know, like. She was living so superficially in her life that she didn't care to analyze what was going on behind the scenes in her head, right? She didn't realize that the stuff that she went through when she was young was affecting her now. Yeah. And I told my wife, and so this ex-girlfriend of mine, literally, she thought subconsciously or at some level in her brain, she thought that her life was a novela.
Wait, what?
You know what I mean? Like, in a sense, you know what I mean? Because when you're young and like, if you're from Mexico or whatever, right? Yeah. Because she was from Mexico, you grew up watching these novelas, right? Yes. But there's
so much passion.
But it's the same thing what you're talking about, right? About the glorifying toxicity. Right? What do they always show? The girl with the guy, and the guy's always hitting her, or they're always breaking up.
Or the girls are like plotting something terrible.
Right, or the guys are plotting something terrible. Yeah. But the point of these shows, it's always drama. Yeah. But that's the point of the show. It's drama to keep you entertained. Unfortunately, some people take that, and after watching it, if you're filling your brain up with nonsense, right? with let's just say Housewives of Atlanta 24/7.
Crap TV.
It's gonna feel like if you eat candy all day, you might eat it once a day, but then let's say you do it for 3 or 4 years straight. You know what I mean? Then your whole internal being is going to be
affected.
Candy.
Yeah.
And essentially, what that means, what is candy, right? Candy is instant reward, right? That's why people eat candy, right? Because it's an instant dopamine hit. So therefore, when a person like just all day they're watching this crap like novelas, like I think she was, they think that their life is supposed to be like that.
And that's not a real
that
life.
Their life is supposed to be drama 24/7.
And I almost think that it's like a drama attachment lifestyle is like a prison, because you never get to know yourself. You never get to know who you are in your true base and essence without these other external dynamics influencing and telling you who you are.
Right.
It never even gives you the opportunity to find out who you are.
Exactly.
You have to eliminate and remove those things, those external factors. Allow yourself to be at peace with who you are, right? And then that way everything that's within you can flourish out.
Exactly. But that's where I'm going with this. It's like you have no internal value in yourself, no skills, let's just say, right? That you can, put out into the world, that you rely on a man, you rely on a woman to keep you happy, right? Guys, for example, especially in their early 20s, they're kind of about chasing women.
Yeah.
Right? Because they have no internal value, right? Successful people don't need other people to make them successful, right? Or happy, right? They have this internal drive to be successful. They want to do a certain thing, and it doesn't matter if they don't look cool, whatever. They want to get this thing accomplished. Unsuccessful people, which is 99% of 20-year-olds, they have no intrinsic value. Therefore, they seek value outside of themselves. And so for men, for example, they seek women to validate themselves, right? Because they have no value, they have no skills, and they say, "Oh, I have this Toxica now that is giving me value now, right? And she looks good, right? And she looks good, like she has the whole look
the physique,
of a Toxica, with the lips and the ass and the boobs or whatever the fuck, and that makes them happy for a little bit, like I said, like candy.
It's temporary. They're gonna get bored with it.
But then you get. Have you seen the TikTok of the girl that she breaks the guy's window from his car?
No.
That's the pinnacle of toxicity.
Yeah.
This girl is so attached to this guy, and I guess he broke up with her or something like that. And the whole TikTok is him recording her and him telling her that she's gonna go to jail. But essentially, she has a club or a bat. And I guess he's driving away, so then she hits the window with the bat, and she shatters the window.
Oh my gosh.
So she's so attached to this outside person, this other than herself, that she felt it was okay to act like that. And that's pinnacle toxicity. And that's real toxicity. You know what I mean? And so people think, like you said, it's all fun and games when it's just superficial and stuff like that. But when it starts getting to the nitty gritty, you start finding out that this actually is not a good thing. This actually sucks.
And what I've seen is that these women, las tóxicas, that are going through it, they have this mindset of, this is cool, this is how we're going to be. If they're going to act that way, then I'm going to act this way too. But when they're alone with their thoughts or with their friends, it's a different game. It's like they're getting a chance to reflect and be like, I'm not happy. I'm not okay with this. I can't understand why this person's treating me like this.
Oh, right. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Right. So
and it's like, full stop. Full stop. Okay. Stop placing your value in someone else.
Right.
All right. Ask yourself how I want to be treated. And what am I going to do about it to change that?
Right.
You know what I mean? How can I better value myself? Act, treat, behave. What things can I do in my life? They're going to remove me from this toxic mindset of someone else has to validate me.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, it should just come from you.
And so I'm 32, right? You said you're
31.
31, right? And so a lot of people our age are kind of like, I would say our generation, we're getting married a lot late. I just got married this past year, right?
Yeah.
I was 31. My wife was 30. Actually, yeah, she was 30. She turned 31 a month afterwards. Anyway, so what I'm saying is, when people of our past generation, like our parents' generation, or for example, I have an older brother, his generation. What generation are they? Are they Generation Z or something like that?
It depends on the year.
One of those,
born,
right?
Yeah.
And so these people have a high rate of divorce.
Yeah.
Right? But that's because my parents' generation, the baby boomers, and then like my brother's generation that grew up in the 90s and the 80s, they grew up to this economic time where like everything was prosperous, right? Like Bill Clinton and all these people, there was no, essentially, it was materialism, right? People were just focused on getting a bigger house, getting bigger things, getting a cell phone, having more and more and more and more. So it was never enough. Therefore, like I said about that example, but if you're just eating candy all the time, at one point your internal being is just going to be like crap, right? Exactly. And so therefore, if you're just focused on outside getting the next car, getting the next thing, then you never stop and think, okay, what do I have to do internally to keep myself healthy, right? So therefore, when this past generation was going through all these divorces, it was because as soon as they didn't like something, they would drop it. And that went with the divorces and stuff like that. As soon as their divorce wasn't going somewhere, or their wife wasn't meeting their needs, instead of working to fix it, they were like, I'm out, or they already have somebody else.
Yeah.
And that kind of drove the rates of divorce. And so now, I mean, people have to really, with this pandemic, what happened was it gave people a lot of time to just essentially work on themselves, which is what I did. I mean, I don't know if other people did that, but I did that, and you have to, at one point, like you said, stop and say, I have to better myself in order to better the people around me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's not the other way around. It's not, right? What was JFK? What did he say? It's not what you can do. No, it's not what your country can do for you. It's what you can do for your country. Exactly. So it's that same mentality, right? It's not what your partner can do for you. It's like, okay,
what can I do for them?
What can I do for them? Because if I just change the way I think about a situation, then that's going to reflect essentially from her to me now. You know what I mean? Instead of, let's just say, I don't know, let's just some random thing. Like, I'm not happy in my marriage, right?
Yeah.
And you come in with this mindset, because, I don't know, you think that your wife is not hot enough anymore, or whatever reason, right? And then now you come home with that mentality. You come in and she can tell that you're not,
you bring that experience,
and you bring that mood,
mindset,
mindset mood with you. So then she's gonna reflect back at you, right? The world is just a reflection of your thoughts to yourself, right? Whatever. That's why whatever you are, the world is gonna give you that exact feedback. Yes. So therefore, now let's just say you change the way you think about, your marriage, your wife, and say, she's done a lot for me. We've gone through a lot. And so now you come into the house lovingly, right? So she's going to reciprocate that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now you have changed something inside yourself to change the external, way that you interact with the world. You know what I mean?
If you come in with a different mindset, I would say that it's fair. At the beginning, you can't expect that mindset back. But once you're consistent with it, and the other party sees it over and over again, it will influence them. And then either they're going to sit down with you and ask you, hey, I like this. How do we keep this going? Or, they're just going to do it on their own.
Right, exactly. And that's what I told my wife too. It's like, look, we're in this marriage here, this relationship, but you should never rely on me to make you happy.
Correct.
Because, and I'm just going to tell you, and I told her, I was like, I'm going to tell you this, I don't rely on you to make me happy.
Correct.
I make myself happy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I do stuff that I want to do, right? And so, like, you're here because I want you to be here.
Because I want to share this experience.
Exactly, right. So therefore, don't ever think that I'm responsible for you being happy, because you have to do that for yourself.
Yeah.
If you're not happy with yourself, then I'm not going to make you happy no matter what I do.
You got to go find out what makes you happy. Right?
Exactly. And so with women, right, they're trying to maybe get into a relationship or whatever, right? You have to make yourself happy, because once you make yourself happy, you're going to attract a guy that says, oh, this person's happy. She doesn't need anybody. You know, she's independent. And if you see that, and if you're truly that, if you're truly an embodiment of that mindset, then a guy's going to come in, and if you feel like he's trying to do something, then you're just going to cut him off. Boom. But if you feel like he respects that about you, then you're going to say, okay, well, let's bring this guy along here.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
let's see what you're about.
Exactly. And so, but you already have that. You don't have a hole inside of you.
That you're expecting someone else to fill.
That's why I hated it when sometimes people at work or whatever, like, they want to get married. Girls, right? They want to get married. I need to find a husband. Yeah. Why do you need to find a husband?
Yeah.
Like, literally, why? You know, like, you need to work on yourself. You know what I mean? And the more you work on yourself, the more you focus on doing this one thing, the more it's going to evade you. You know what I mean? Like, the more you're trying to get it, the more it's going to go away. So therefore, stop focusing on it.
What flows, flows. What crashes, crashes.
Exactly. So you need to just forget about getting married or whatever, right? Because they literally, like, women on Facebook, like, they'll put that. They'll say, where can I find a good man? You know?
I mean, the thing is, like, they're out there, but is it the time for you to find a good man?
But it's not, I think it's not your job to find him. Your job is to find yourself.
And then he'll come along.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, if you essentially work on yourself and find yourself and you're your own person, and then you're going to attract that same kind of person that's on that same frequency as you. But if you're essentially like putting stuff like that on Facebook or on Instagram or whatever, then you're going to have the guys that are going to be like, well, I can be your man. You know what I mean? And then
it's like your easy prey.
So now you, instead of attracting a high value person, you attract a person that's just as low value as you. You know? So now you're both in this low frequency people. You're low frequency people, or you're on this negative frequency, both of you, where you want a man for marriage, and then he wants a woman to get some. Right? So none of you are in it for the right reasons.
Yeah, that's not going to last.
You know what I mean? So that's not going to work. Like, you need to be your own person, and stop saying that I need to get married. Like women have these deadlines, right? Like, oh, I need, by 25, I want to be married. By 27, I want to have 2 kids. Yep. You know, it's like, okay.
Like, pump the brakes. You know, and
we're like, really.
Exactly, but it's also something that's like perpetuated in our culture.
Right. Exactly.
You know? And the other day I had the privilege of going to hang out with a group of senior citizens, right? These are all retirees. They've already worked, you know, they're just enjoying the rest of their lives, right? These are people like from Minnesota, from Wyoming, Wisconsin, who are coming, and they live down here in the wintertime. And one of them turns to me and they're like, Laura, like, are you married? You know? And I was like, no, like, I'm still single. And they're like, well, how old are you? I'm like, I'm 31. They're like, oh, you're still young. And that was such a relief to hear. Because usually if you go to like a family gathering, right? If you're 31, you're the only one without kids. You're the only one that's never been married or divorced.
Right.
You know what I mean? And everybody will tell you, well, when are you going to do it?
Right.
When are you going to get on this train?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But people who are outside of our culture are like, oh, you still got time. You're young.
Exactly. So what I would say to that is misery loves company.
Yeah.
Right? And what situation are they in to tell me what I need to do?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, what's your situation?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Where do you live?
Yeah.
Oh, you live over here? Oh, okay. And you're telling me what to do? Okay, great. Thanks. Thanks for the advice.
Like,
you know?
when did you start paying my bills?
Right.
Like, really? Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you know, and just to go back to this again, it's like I'm a nurse, right? Every time I see a 40-year-old in the hospital, it's like, what are they doing here? Like, they're young.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't be 40 and in the hospital.
That's so true.
Right? Because people think hospitals are like a clinic. No, hospitals are not a clinic.
It's a hospital.
Hospital is for like important things, like heart attacks, broken bones, major health issues.
Yeah.
If I see a 40-year-old, I'm like, you're young. Like, why are you? There's some reason. There's something that you did to yourself to why you're here.
Yeah.
Usually it's most of the time that people go to the hospital, stuff that they did to themselves, right? So it's people not eating good.
Yeah.
They're overweight. They smoke. They do drugs. They're heavy drinkers.
They have all these bad habits.
Right, and or they're driving drunk. Right, the most prototypical one. Right, and that's the reason why they're there. Like, it's a combination of bad choice on top of bad choice on top of a bad choice, and it's just like that. And it ended up in them being in the hospital with, like I said, either driving drunk or they were doing drugs and they had a heart attack or some other reason why they shouldn't be in the hospital. Because at 40 and 50, I would say, I used to think, like, my dad is 64, I think. When my dad was in his 50s, I used to think he was old. But now, when I'm a nurse, like, I see a 50-year-old, I think 50-year-olds, they're young.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think our generation, especially 30-year-olds now, they kind of look younger, I think. Or maybe it's just us now that we're 30. To me, 30-year-olds now look a lot younger than, like, previously.
Well, I'm going to tell you something that happened to me this weekend. I was training, right? And one of my coaches comes up to me and they're like, hey, how old are you? I was like, I'm 31. They're like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, wait, how old do I look? I got all excited, right, for a second there. And they're like, you look like, 26, 27. I was like, yeah,
right.
boy.
Yeah, so exactly. So right now, when I asked you how old you were, I had a ballpark between like 23 to like 30.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't going to, assume anything, because literally, like, you had that range for me. Like, I didn't know what age you were. My wife, she gets that she's also like 22 to like 30.
Yeah, that's a good feeling.
But she's 31. You know what I mean? But I think that essentially, as a society, we're getting healthier, right?
I hope so.
And we're living longer. But still, like, you can still, like, don't underestimate the things that you can do to mess up your body. And if you mess up your body, right, like my mom, right, she wears these high heels, and then she's 60, right? So she wears these high heels because she owns her business. So she wears these high heels, and then she comes home and she complains why her back hurts. And I'm like, I was like, Mom, your back hurts because 365, you're in high heels.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So how about you stop wearing high heels and take care of your body and your back, because guess what? If you don't have your body, then you can't go to work.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's like you only get one machine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's the most important thing. Quit focusing. People who also make a lot of money, or they focus on just being driven. Like, people that are really driven sometimes forget about their health, right? Nurses, I see this with nurses too, right? Nurses that work every day, because being a nurse is heavy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're nurses. They're supposed to be experts in health, and even some ER doctors, right? And they're obese.
They just use the excuse of, it's because I'm so busy, whatever's fast.
Right, exactly. But I was like, but you're supposed to be a spokesman for health.
Yeah. And
you are here, trying to tell these people that they need to take their tension medication, yet you're 40 pounds overweight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So slow down, take care of your body. Your body, you only get one, like you said. And once you get a stroke or a heart attack, then guess what? There's no going back.
Everything goes downhill. Unless you really put in the work to get back.
That's what I'm saying. Like, but once you have a heart attack or a stroke or something like that, but no, you can, but you're never gonna go back to how you were before.
No.
And all you had to do was take care of your body.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think that if we're gonna, let's tie it back into, the concept of la Toxica, you have to do that for your mindset as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? You have to not only have like a healthy body, but a healthy mind.
Yeah.
And we live in a very fortunate time to where we have the opportunity to pull the tide. As opposed to letting things continue as they are. It's going to take individuals like you and I really stepping forward and keeping the momentum going to say, no, draw it back. We don't need more materialistic things. What we need is more of ourselves. And we need to be present in the moment and to realize that this saying or glorifying of la tóxica y lo tóxico, that's not the way it is. That's not the way that it should be. All right? We need to value ourselves as human beings more and treat each other better.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, and like I said, I mean, with that concept of la tóxica or tóxico or whatever, to me it's like a joke, right? But like you said, as the year has gone by, you see it more and more, and eventually it just becomes a part of life, right? Yeah. And so what I was gonna say about the tóxica and the tóxico and how it can snowball into this bigger problem is. And I was thinking about this. It's when Selena Gomez came out and said that she was bipolar, right? She came out and she said she was bipolar, right? I don't think she's bipolar, but she said she was bipolar, okay? And so she came out and said that, right? And so what's her fan base? Like, what age range are they? They're like
young girls,
13 to like 20-some-year-olds, right? And then all of a sudden, you had these little girls thinking that it was cool to say that you're bipolar, that you have depression, that you have anxiety. Like, it's cool to admit that. Cool. It's like I get it. No. It's like I get it. Selena Gomez went through some. She has issues and she came out and she was brave for it. Okay, but that doesn't mean that just because you have one bad day, or you get mad sometimes, that you're bipolar. Yeah. Okay? And so, and I saw several, I know it sounds like I spent a lot of time on TikTok, but, there's some funny ones. But essentially, they started perpetuating the idea that being bipolar is normal, so, or being depressed or being anxious, or having suicidal thoughts is normal. You know what I mean? Or cutting, stuff like that.
And I think that with all of that, with mental illness as a whole, I'm glad that people are able to come out and talk about it now. But don't just talk about it and leave it. Talk about it and do something to help.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So for me, that was a problem where Selena Gomez came out and it became the snowball effect to where now it's like, in a way, right? Little girls especially, now they think that they're bipolar or that they're depressed, so therefore, I don't know, they shouldn't be shamed for
acting that way. I think that there should always be a high level of self-accountability and self-responsibility.
Yeah, exactly.
And the moment that anything comes into the paradigm that removes that from the focus, that's something that should be questioned.
Right. So that's why with Selena Gomez, when she said that, I thought it was a little bit reckless because you have these your fan base, which is your demographic, which is very young. Yeah. And so now they hear you say that, especially little girls, right?
You're normalizing it.
And you're normalizing it, and then you're kind of making it seem like this is something like that's popular. When it's really not. Like, being bipolar is really rare, but now because this high-profile person says she has it, then it makes it more like the transgender issue, right? There's like being transgender is really rare, like super rare. But now because it's in the forefront with Caitlyn Jenner and stuff like that, and you can read about this too, that there was articles, people coming out as transgender or kids coming out as transgender when they really weren't, like, skyrocketed. You know what I mean? And Joe Rogan talked about that, about how little girls were convincing each other, or there was this one little girl that was transgender and she would convince other little girls that they were transgender when they weren't, and it became like these issues, like with the whole school and everything. And because you have this person or this subject that's in the forefront of everybody's mind about transgender or bipolar or whatever, and now they make it seem like it's more prevalent than it really is, and just literally you can cause waves throughout society that can cause a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Therefore, I don't know if I haven't studied it or nothing like that, but I'm pretty sure there was somebody who said something about being Toxica or about being Toxico on TV that somebody picked it up.
And they were like, oh, I want to be that.
Right.
I need to be that.
Exactly. So I don't know who it was, but human beings, we're not that original. We get ideas from other people all the time, literally. And then you won't remember where you got it from. But essentially, we steal each other's ideas all the time. And so I'm pretty sure somebody heard it on TV or somebody that they admired said it, like maybe just casually, and they kind of just ran with it. And then this person said it, and then now it's pervasive, right?
Yeah.
To where it's like a part of like this little subculture.
And I would just like implore upon, our viewers, listeners, anybody out there that if you think that being a toxico or being a toxica is okay, pump the brakes. You got to rethink that one.
Yeah, for sure.
And thank you so much for joining me on this conversation.
Yeah, no problem.
It's a really important conversation, I think, because, driving around, I'm seeing all these bumper stickers. Like, people have these huge ones like on the back of their truck, like, busco novia toxica. And I'm just like, no, bro. No, you shouldn't.
Yeah. First of all, it'd be interesting just to like ask them, well, what do you mean by that? You know what I mean? Like, what do you like really? Like, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I'm going to the next time I'm at the pulga and I see somebody walking into one of those cars, and I'm gonna be like, hey, yo, what's this about?
Right, exactly. Yeah. What exactly do you mean? If it's a joke, I mean, whatever. But
if it ends up being serious, I'm gonna let you know.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So where can people find you? Yeah,
so on Instagram, VerifiedPodcastRGV. On YouTube as well, VerifiedPodcastRGV on that. And I think that's it for now. The TikTok one, I haven't finished that one. Awesome. But yeah, so that's where you can find me.
I'm pretty sure you're gonna be putting out some awesome stuff on TikTok soon.
Yeah. So.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Yep.